Hello everyone, my name is Pam Le Noury, Head of Expedition Operations at Noble Caledonia, and we are very lucky to have with us today Dr. Alex Cowan. Alex is an old friend and colleague from the sea. He has been working on expedition cruise ships for 10 years or so, and he's been a lecturer and guide with us at Noble Cal and a couple of weird and wonderful places. I think last time we worked together was Indonesia or something. Alex did his PhD at Cambridge in Earth Sciences, and he's always been such a terrific lecturer in terms of geology and climate change and all these wonderful topics. But a couple of years ago, he came up with the bright idea with some colleagues of creating the Polar Citizen Science Collective, which is an organization that pairs up passengers and staff like you and me with legitimate science projects and organizations that need data to be collected on vessels of opportunity, and we can collect this data for them and actually have it sent through in an organized way. So it's a pretty cool idea, and we do participate in a little bit of the citizen science when we go to sea, and that's what we'd love to talk to you about today. Thank you so much for chatting with us, Alex.
Thanks for having me, Pam.
Good. How are you? I believe it's very snowy up there in Scotland.
Yeah, we've had a great winter, so it's made lockdown a little bit easier, being able to get out and play in the snow.
Yeah. So I thought what would be nice to chat about is some of the projects that you do at sea on vessels of opportunity, such as ours, something for people to look forward to. And then also it'd be cool to chat about things that people might be able to do from home at the moment, since you're connected to so many interesting projects. And tell us how people access these projects and about a couple of them.
Yeah, I would love to. So if you're planning on going on a polar trip, there's a couple of things you can do to prepare yourself. So one of the projects we support is called Happy Whale. So Happy Whale is a marine mammal ID website. So you take photos of, for example, a humpback's tail, and you submit it to the website, and it will identify that humpback. And if it's been seen before, it'll tell you where and when it's been seen before. So this is great if maybe it'll tell you something like, your whale that you saw in Antarctica was last seen in Panama 6 months ago with the calf. And so you kind of learn all these great things about these animals. So you can get started.
That's such a nice mention. I batch loaded up all my whales about 2 years ago, and every other month I get a ping on a whale from somewhere. You feel so excited about your little whale ping.
Yeah, it's awesome, because every time that whale is sighted again in the future, if you want, it will tell you your whale's been seen again. So especially if you're the first person to ever photograph that whale, you can even have an opportunity to name it. And so you can follow your whale and for the rest of your life, basically, and see where it's been showing up. It's an amazing project.
Yeah, it's such a lovely way to sort of engage with the species that you saw and that you'll never forget, and sort of engage with them on an ongoing basis. It's a really, really great project.
Yeah, it's very cool. So people can check out that at just happywhale.com. And I've prepared a little document which Pam will hopefully put on the website or send around or something, with some of these links I'm going to talk about on it. So you don't need to worry too much about trying to scribble stuff down during this talk, but rather you can just look at the document afterwards. So once you've got a Happy Whale account, you can also download the Polar Collective app. So this is something you download onto a smartphone from either the Play Store or the Apple iOS store. And then if you log into that Polar Collective app, it allows you to take part in certain projects that we that we run on board the ships. So as well as us doing Happy Whale, we also have a new project which hasn't run yet. It's just finished testing and been finalized. It's called Ice Watch. So I'm going to show you my app here. So these are old trips I took part in. So ignore those company names. They're terrible ones, unlike Noble. But if we go to one, you can see we have this project here, Ice Watch. So you would simply, if you were on a trip, you'd click on that and it would allow you to make observations of the ice around the ship. So this is really cool. The idea is that the satellites are viewing ice from above, but there's certain stuff that they can't really understand. So it's really useful to be making observations from the water as well. So
this
is very
sea ice.
Yes,
specifically
sea ice.
At sea, yeah. So you can't be taking photos of the snow and ice around you in Scotland right now.
No, they're not super interested in that, unfortunately. So at its most basic, it's even just saying, oh, like half the sea is covered by ice, and taking a photo of it. And then that will get uploaded later from your phone once you have a signal or you're on Wi-Fi. And then this really helps them to calibrate their satellites. So that was a project that was funded by the European Space Agency. And we're really excited about getting that going when we're working at sea again.
And speaking of the funding, you are a registered charity as well. So, I mean, it's you could get funding from anyone nowadays if anyone's interested in sending money your way.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we did with lockdown is we finally got ourselves registered as a charity in England and Wales. So this is a great recognition of the standard of governance that we've got going in the Polar Collective now. So cool. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well done.
So that's something you can prepare yourself for if you're going on a polar trip, but you might want to do something now. So another project that we do on board, but that you could do at home is called NASA Globe. And this is an atmospheric observation project. So I've got my NASA Globe app here. So again, this is something you download onto your smartphone. And this is similar to the ICE project in that it's attempting to marry up photos from ground level with photos from satellites. So you'd go into your clouds thing and it just basically says, start a new cloud observation. And you can see where I live there in Loch Carron on the west coast of Scotland. You can also use this app to find out when a satellite is passing over you. So what they like to do is for you to make an observation at the exact same time that a satellite is passing over. So they have photos from above and below at the exact same time, which is really cool. So
and
with that,
I suppose with that, they're so much more interested in less habited places. I'm sure they're getting like loads of pings from well-inhabited cities. But if you live out in the country or whatever, I'm sure there's much fewer data pings.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you see like a lot of observations obviously coming out of cities and things where there are lots of people. And also you see a lot of observations coming out of Europe and North America, but it's surprising to me the kinds of places that have very few, like for some reason, Australia submits very few observations. So, you can actually go, yeah, I know, always at the pub. So, you can actually go onto the NASA Globe website to see the data that people submitted. You can even see your own data. So you could actually go onto their visualization website and find your own observations that you've submitted and see the satellite image that was taken of your position at that time as well, which is really fun to do. With their website, and I've included a link to this in the document, they have a bunch of training stuff on there. So if you're not quite sure about how to observe clouds, there's quite a lot of useful information telling you exactly what they're expecting. Because, with citizen science, it's easy for people to maybe just submit any old information. So it's quite important that you take a bit of time to work out what kind of information the scientists are looking for. So NASA's very good at that. And they even have a lot of additional training modules. So you can do, with the NASA Globe app, you can do additional training modules that will allow you, after taking an assessment, to access additional parts of the app. So you can use devices like these. So this is a digital hygrometer and thermometer. So you see this is showing my house is 25 degrees at the moment. It's really toasty inside and 50% humidity. We've got another example of this here. So this is a whirling hygrometer. So it's a bit more complicated to use. But these are opportunities to just add temperature and humidity data to what you're observing with the app. So it can make it a lot more interactive and fun when you're actually measuring specific data. And it all really helps NASA with understanding what's going on.
So those tools and throwing the word NASA around make it look quite cool. But is it demoralizing if you're like in your 60s and then watching a tutorial on how to observe clouds?
I don't think so, because I think anyone would watch and be like, oh, okay, there's at least something there that I didn't know. And, there's it's interesting to learn, like, how do I tell the difference between a low cloud and a medium cloud and a high cloud? So just have like little tricks to scale and, where it is in the sky. It's actually, because they're very interested in like these 3 different layers, like what layers at low level do you see? And then what layers at a mid level? And then what layers at a high level? And even things like aircraft contrails, they're really interested in. I think they're interested in how those contrails might influence cloud formation.
Okay,
so there's a lot of information that they would like to get out of this app.
Okay, so demoralizing as it sounds to watch a cloud observing tutorial, it's well worth it. Cool.
It is well worth it, yeah, especially when you get to use this, because you have to spin it around above your head, so it's something really fun.
You just sold everyone on this idea.
So those obviously both involved using a smartphone, which I realize not everyone has, or maybe not everyone enjoys using, but there are other citizen science projects you can do at home. So we're going to stay with like a polar theme, and I'm going to talk about the Zooniverse website. Again, this app is in the document. And what Zooniverse is really fun for is, instead of doing the data collection, you're doing a lot of the data analysis. So a good Antarctic example of this is called Penguin Watch. So if any of you have been to Antarctica, you might have been somewhere where you see these cameras on poles sitting above the penguins. So these are taking photos all the time, I think basically to see when these penguins are coming and going from the sea. And it gives you an idea then of how often they're going to feed and how long they're away. And then how long they're away tells you something about how far they're having to go, and how far they're having to go is telling you something about where the prey is. So it's not enough to just take the photos. Obviously, you've got to analyze them as well. So on Zooniverse, if you go to Penguin Watch on that website, then you can actually analyze each individual photo for them. So it's just saying, there's a penguin there. So you just click on the penguin, and you click on all the penguins you see, all the chicks you see, all the eggs you see, and then move on to the next image. So it's an opportunity to take part in that way. But it's not just Penguin Watch. They have, I think, 75 projects on that website. They have an Arctic one as well, where they're trying to work out if the presence of a camp attracts or deters polar bears. So you're just looking at images that are taken from this camp, and you're identifying all the wildlife you see in those images. And it's pretty easy, like it's a wolf, it's a reindeer, it's a polar bear, it's a fox kind of thing. And an early conclusion they've come to, which they're a bit unsure about, is they think that they're attracting mothers with cubs to these camps. And they think they're attracting them because they're actually repelling the other bears. So they're trying to stay away from all the lone males, because a lone male will kill any cubs it finds. Basically, that's something that a lot of mammal predators do, and it's just to increase the chance that the gene pool is mostly their genes and not another bear. So you just kill every cub you find. So they're thinking that might be what's happening, and that's coming out of this citizen science project where people are actually IDing. There's a mother and cub, there's a fox, there's a wolf, whatever.
That's so interesting. And I've also got a friend who was saying about the penguin counting. They said they used to be completely addicted to and obsessed with like Sudoku and those sorts of things. And she said now she just sits there like pinging penguins all day, like a video game, like obsessed. And then got the kids involved, and everyone's like sitting there pinging penguins. So yeah, I think it could be quite a little fun time passer, if nothing else.
Yeah, totally. It'd be a great family thing to do together, especially with young kids. Yeah. And they have some other cool projects on there as well, because of course, people were collecting data long before they had computers to put the data in. So there's old notebooks by scientists that need transcribing into something digital. So you can go through the pages of these notebooks and type out what they say as well. So it's an opportunity to digitize that. Another example
and improve on your typing speeds.
And that's right, yeah. So it's good training for when we come out of lockdown, you can go back to work again.
Put it on your CV, yeah.
Yeah. There's even all the old Royal Naval water temperature measurements going back centuries, and they haven't been digitized. So there's an opportunity to digitize those as well, which gives us a lot more information about how sea temperature has changed over the years.
That's so cool, actually. Hey?
Yeah. So there's that you can do at home in your study on the computer, but also, I've talked about, we do these projects on the ship, so you're actually getting outside and collecting data, but you can do that too here in the UK. There's lots of citizen science projects. So a good example of that would be the Big Garden Bird Watch, where everyone over the space of a couple of days goes into their garden for a set period of time and just counts the different birds that they see. And then you enter that data, and it gives like a little census of what people are seeing around the country. So that's finished for this year. It happened at the end of January, start of February. But there's lots of little things called bio-blitzes, where people, again, are just all going out at the same time to different places and just seeing what they find. So you just need to look on these websites that detail citizen science projects, and it'll tell you what's going on in your local area, what you need to do to get involved. So there's, like, in June, July, there's big butterfly counts going on, trying to get an idea of the butterfly population of the UK. So what I've done is I've just put in a couple of links on this same document again. And each of these links are, basically a list of projects, but they're quite nicely put together. So you can just go through the different links they provide to see which projects you'd like to take part in.
And Alex, I think the real beauty of it is when people get involved in, like, the whale with the happy whale, and they get that feedback, or when they're participating in butterfly counts or bird counts, it not only gives you a bit of time immersed in nature, which is so beneficial in the first place, but people start to feel more invested in these creatures, and then essentially are becoming good ambassadors for their conservation. And we see that all the time, taking people to wilderness areas, just that engagement that gives them that little sparkle towards wanting to conserve and protect these wild areas. And these projects just in your back garden, like you said, counting butterflies, I can just start to see myself seeing butterflies all the time and really becoming much more invested in entomology in general. So it's such a nice way for people to engage with nature.
Yeah, it's so true. Anytime you take on a little project, then suddenly you just find yourself accidentally learning all this new stuff that you probably wouldn't go and take the time to learn anyway. So yeah, it's just a great way to learn something in a different way.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Alex, thanks so much for engaging with us on all those really interesting projects. So we are going to load that little Word document that you alluded to when we load this interview on the website. And if there's nothing else that you want to add, I just want to say a huge big thanks, man. It's really, really lovely to chat with you, and I'm sure people will love to connect to so many of those projects.
That's great. Thanks very much for having me, Pam.
All right, cool, Alex. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.